Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30 on Monday, the 7th of July, and I'm pleased to welcome the self-proclaimed most knowledgeable man in boxing, my brother. How are you getting on?
I'm grand, so how are you?
Very, very good indeed. Very good indeed. Delighted that you have once again graced my small to medium-sized YouTube channel with your presence. Perfect. Before we get into it, a few plugs, as always, on my channel. Firstly, I would strongly urge everyone to watch my recent interview with my good friend, the White Collar Boxing personal trainer. It hasn't been the smash sensation I was anticipating with the views as of yet, but if I'm honest, I think it's probably the best video that I've ever done on YouTube, and yeah, I think some of it is pretty comedy gold. So yeah, please watch that back. A further plug, I'm starting my new feature on the channel, 10-minute fighter reviews. That's going to be with you in the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. What we're going to be doing for that is... Sorry?
He's actually starting with his white collar boxing friend for the first 10-minute review.
I'm certainly not, no. What we're doing for the first 10-minute review is, well, what we're going to focus on is fighters who don't have a big fight coming up. Like, there's no point in me doing a 10-minute review on Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury, because realistically, what you want to review them on is the stuff that is coming up in the next month, in the next 2 months, etc. So what I'm going to focus on is those guys who are, you know, more established, those guys who don't have a big fight coming off, perhaps guys who just come off a big fight. So I'm thinking for the first two, I'm going to roll with Carl Froch and David Haye. And then maybe we'll look at Chris Eubank Jr., you know, guys who are already well known. But I'm open to requests, open to ideas. So if you're watching this, you know, I will post this show to my channel after we finish filming it. If you're watching this, please do leave a comment who you'd like to see on 10-minute fighter reviews, and we will go from there. Anyway, without further ado, let's crack into it. I'm keen to sort of hand over to yourself, because people on this channel hear me talk long enough. If you could try and be as quiet as possible when you're not speaking, because otherwise the camera keeps jumping back and forth, which is doing a lot at the minute. But let's start. It's been sort of a good month since we last had you on the channel. What's been catching your eye in the world of boxing?
Well, the thing that caught my eye this morning was I read that Jürgen Bremer, fresh off another mauling of a third-rate heavyweight, is fighting Tommy Stuzen, if that is the correct pronunciation, which is the first interesting fight I've seen Jürgen Bremer in a very long time.
Do you think Haven is a good opponent?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter either, because they're just going to be fed to the winner of Cleverleaf and Farah.
Well, I don't rate Haven. I've seen him fight a few times. He seems to be a very disciplined fighter. Seems to have no control over his weight. I think he's overrated. I think he's a name, you know, but nothing more than that. I rate Bremer. I actually think Bremer's an underrated fighter. You know, real technician, bit of a chess player. And there's certain people out there who think that Bremer's a, you know, a real top-class fighter. I'm not saying I'm one of those, but Bremer's a good, solid guy, and I think he beats Haven.
The results from last night as well, watching those filter in on Twitter and stuff. I was glued to Twitter when McDonald was fighting, seeing the rounds coming in.
Yeah, I watched the McDonald fight. Had a bit of back and forth with my good friend Ultra Tech Sports last night. He had Kameda winning the fight, I think. I had McDonald winning it. I didn't watch Anthony Dirrell versus Marco Rubio, but apparently Dirrell was pretty terrible. And to be honest, I really don't rate Anthony Dirrell. I think his brother is an excellent fighter, but I think Anthony Dirrell's really overrated without any real, you know, he drew with Sakio Beaker and then edged him in a rematch. For me, that's not strong form in that division.
I agree. For what it's worth. And then he lost his first title defense as well to Purdue Jack, who, let's face it, no one thought would win. He seemed almost to be selected. And yeah, he scraped past Beaker once. But I've seen the highlights. It's on the PBC YouTube channel, and he's got monster punches, it looks like, but he's winging them in from halfway down his leg.
I don't think he's a monster puncher. I mean, he went the distance with Badou Jack, who got sparked in a round by Derek Edwards. He just went the distance with Marco Antonio Rubio, who got destroyed in 2 rounds by a middleweight.
I was laughing at the refusal to name said middleweight, but well, it's just a thing, isn't it? You know, he had a title, I suppose, but I don't see George Groves being matched against him at all, or Badou Jack for that matter.
Okay, look, I know you're on a tight timescale tonight. Got a few things that we need to discuss. Tyson Fury versus Klitschko. Anthony Joshua's fighting Gary Cornish next weekend. Dillian Whyte's fighting Brian Minto next weekend. I know you wanted to talk a bit about Al Haymon. We've also got Mayweather Berto to discuss. We've got Badou Jack versus George Groves to discuss. So let's crack into it. You know, that's 6 meaty topics there. Let's try and do 3 or 4 minutes on each one. And let's start with George Groves versus Badou Jack. Give me your thoughts.
I think this is, well, it's not so much a thought, really. It's a fact, isn't it? This is almost George Groves' last chance, really. He had 2 cracks at France, and you'll know how those ended. If he can't beat Badou Jack, then I think he might well be done, unless they can get him in against Arthur Abraham or Martin Murray. But I think he's done if he doesn't beat Badou Jack. Excuse me, Badou Jack. It's not. I'm not expecting fireworks. You know, it's on a decent card. It's a decent part of a decent card, even if it is a Mayweather undercard fight. I would like George Groves to win it just because after 3 bites of the cherry, I think I'd want most people to win a world title. But it's his last chance, and I think the thing is he'll know that, and hopefully that can spur him on to victory.
Who are you picking?
I'm going for Groves personally.
Why?
I think the pre-Cobraing, I used to quite like George Groves' fighting styles and his abilities. He struggled awfully with Rebrasse and Dennis Doolin,
yeah.
Doolin. But I was quite up on him. And Badou Jack, the first time I ever saw Badou Jack was just before his Durrell fight when I watched the Derek Edwards fight. And I know he's more than a knockout, but it didn't fill me in confidence for a world-class talented performer.
Yeah, I think there's 2 key themes in this fight, right? Well, 3 key themes. Number 1 is the Groves power versus the Badou Jack chin. I don't rule out George Groves just coming out and knocking out Badou Jack in round 1. I think there's scope for that to happen. You know, Groves is a big puncher. He dispatched Paul Smith in 2 rounds. You know, it took Andre Ward 8 or 9, took DeGale 8 or 9, took Abraham 24 rounds. You know, Groves is a big puncher. Yeah, that punch he landed on Carl Frost would have knocked out an elephant in round 1. You know, if Groves lands a punch like that on a guy like Badou Jack, who's been stopped in a round by Derek Edwards, it could be game over. So that's point 1. Point 2 is stamina. George Groves is a guy who really fades in fights for me. We've seen it time and time again. Obviously, the Carl Frost fights are the most famous examples, but to a lesser extent, you've got like the Rebrasse fights, etc. Badou Jack is a very fit guy. He's come forward. He can put the pressure on. You know, he's in good nick. If Badou Jack can drag Groves into rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, how is his stamina going to hold up? Finally, I want to talk about momentum. Momentum's important in boxing. Badou Jack is coming off the biggest win of his career. You know, the best performance of his career. Arguably, George Groves is coming off the worst. So let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know your thoughts on these 3. I want to talk momentum of the fighters, I want to talk power, and I want to talk stamina. Give me your breakdown.
Momentum is with Badou Jack, because beating Andre Durrell is better. Anthony Durrell is better than Christophe Rebrasse and Dennis Doolin. punching power, I would personally go with Groves. He has shown ability to put people down. Definitely. The biggest problem is the fading. The fading lost him a world title in the first Carl Froch fight. And just there doesn't seem to be any drastic improvement at all.
There's quite a bit of background noise your end. I don't know if you can hear anything.
One of my housemate's in the shower, but apart from that, there's nothing really. It might be my belt. But there's quite a bit of background noise at your end.
Yeah. Go and tell your housemate you're broadcasting live to 100 boxing fans, and that they're going to come and sort him out if he doesn't stop making a noise.
100? Good Lord, Tom, you've got unpopular.
Anyway. So go on then. Final sort of analysis on Groves Jack.
Well, I want Groves to win. I'm pulling for George Groves. But if it gets past round sort of 7-8, then my confidence will start dropping quite quickly.
Look, the crackling at your end is getting really bad. I'm thinking if
it's not at your end, Tom, from my end.
Hello?
I can hear it very clearly, but it sounds like it's from your end.
No, when you're speaking, there's kind of a crackling that's coming. It sounds like you're moving, or you're something wrong with your microphone. So if you could just try and be very stationary if at all possible. Anyway, so yeah, my thoughts on this one. I make George Groves a very slight favourite. As I say, punching power's there, but I think that the stamina's with Badu Jack. I think the momentum's with Badu Jack, and I see it as a 60-40 fight in Groves' favour, with power and skills being Groves' advantage. I think if we get to round 8, Groves needs a commanding lead. He needs to be 6-2 up or something like that. I think if he's 5-3, if the fight's even, I think Badu Jack may come on stronger. Right, seeing as we're on that card, Mayweather Berto.
I should say I'm aware there's a very high-pitched noise coming. I don't know if it's my computer, your computer, or what. That's the background noise I'm hearing at the moment. It's not the fight we wanted. I think there's going... How many was it for Mayweather Pacquiao? 4.4 million viewing. I don't think we could...
Sorry, could you try moving your laptop very slightly and then just try and... Is there any way you can move it and prop it up and try and keep it still? Maybe with your hands not on it. It just sounds like there's some... Try again.
Maybe it was my mobile phone being loud. Any improvements?
Well, that sounds good, yeah.
Good. Where were we? Mayweather Berto, yeah. I mean, that was... Mayweather Pacquiao was, what, 4-point-something mil viewing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't quite think we're going to see the same numbers for Mayweather Berto somehow.
Are you being sarcastic?
Me?
I doubt it will do 1 million.
Sorry?
I doubt it will do 1 million.
I don't think it will, no. And I think the problem is, the idea of selling it as his last fight isn't working because no one's convinced that it's his last fight.
Just, the last 30 seconds has been really good in terms of sound quality. So whatever you've done, let's keep it that way.
Cool.
What's your prediction for the fight then? Points or KO?
Oh, points.
What, 12 mil?
12-0, I don't know. We have seen Mayweather just lose the first 3 rounds deliberately in order to work out space. But unless Berto can fight like Marcos Maidana did, but with the hand speed and stamina of a very, very early Manny Pacquiao, it's not happening.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, Mayweather's 1-100 on with the bookies.
1-100.
Yeah. Will you be placing your 50p on that?
Probably not. Probably better investments elsewhere. Yeah,
for me, it doesn't surprise me if Mayweather knocks Berto out. Honestly, it really doesn't. Berto, he's there to be hit, isn't he? He really is there to be hit. And I think Mayweather's check left hook is literally going to hit this guy every time he throws it. I'm not saying Floyd's going to one punch knock him out, but I just think this could be a systematic beatdown over several rounds.
Is the Brook card the same night? I can't remember.
No, Kell Brook's the same night as Vladimir Klitschko Fury on October the 24th. In fact, when we're on that, let's segue into that. Let's go Brook Chavez. Give me your thoughts on that matchup.
Well, building up to that, there seemed to be 3 fights, which were Chavez, Rios, and then out of nowhere, I was reading talks of a unification with Bradley. Realistically, I think and now that Bradley Rios has been rescheduled as well, I think it's a fine matchup, but there's an eye on the future, because if they can't get Khan in for the next fight, then I think the winner of those 2 fights will fight each other for a unification title match.
The winner of what 2 fights?
I think Bradley's WBO champ now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's fighting Rios.
Is that
sorry?
Is that announced?
I don't know if it's announced, but I was reading about the negotiations apparently suddenly being okay now that there was no fights for either of them elsewhere.
I don't think Kell Brook's going to fight Tim Bradley.
I think he will if he can't get Amir Khan.
Yeah, but the risk reward, Bradley's probably a favourite in that fight, and Bradley's not going to
get him to England. Not if they can get him to England.
Oh no, Tim Bradley came to England before and beat the reigning champ.
What? Junior Witter.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. But
I know Kell Brook's a different level of fighter. How do you see Kell Brook Chavez going? Does Chavez have a chance?
I suppose he has he has a good chance, but Chavez is in the same sort of mould as a Sean Porter, come forward, mauling and milling, basically.
Yeah, I heard Eddie Hearn saying that this was a bigger and better fight than Kell Brook versus Sean Porter. But let me tell you, Eddie Hearn did completely and utterly wrong. Sean Porter is a legitimate top 5, top 10 fighter within this division. He really is. Porter is the real deal. Chavez, he's not in my top 10. He's probably not in my top 15, to be honest. This is a guy who, don't get me wrong, he's a likeable fighter, but every time he steps up, Furman, Bradley, Rios, for hook or by crook, whatever reason, he hasn't won. And I don't see him having any chance against Kell Brook.
No, nor do I. But wasn't he scheduled to fight an eliminator as well? So it's another high. Yeah, he's another high-ranking IBF person. They can keep the mandatory off their back for a bit by doing this. The same with.
If you look back in 2015, Jojo Dan, Diego Chavez, Frankie Gavin. 2015 was the year for Kell Brook to come out, capitalise on his success and become a superstar. And I think he's wholeheartedly failed to do that with this list of opponents.
There's still room for a December fight. I'm holding out hope there. I know it's unlikely.
There's no room for a December fight. He's fighting Chavez on October the 24th.
It was October, of course.
Yeah.
But, this is the first disappointment. I watched your video on it a little while ago, and I understand your reasoning, and I agree on the reasoning. But this is the first disappointment for me with Kell Brook. Dan was his mandatory. Gavin was to keep him busy.
Yeah. Well, what do you make of the chat about Kell Brook maybe signing with Haymon?
It will open up the talent pool for him, but I would be surprised if that's what he was concerned with. I mean, he hasn't even fought on a Haymon card. At least Gale had done that before he signed.
Did he not fight on a Haymon card? Yeah, he did.
Which one?
Sean Porter.
No, that was on Showtime.
That wasn't a Haymon card?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Deontay Wilder in the undercard.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that was on Showtime, because they were showing highlights of it.
Okay.
I'm sure the comment section will correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, you're the most knowledgeable man in boxing, whereas I am not. But yeah, no, for me, I don't know if you ever watch the Ultra Tech Sport channel, but one thing that he said, which is very interesting, is if you look at the our Haymon fighters, someone like Keith Thurman is getting $1 million fight in, fight out. Keith Thurman is $1 million fighter. Sean Porter is $1 million fighter. Kell Brook, he's fighting for 200 grand. I mean, do you not think the mathematics is going to take him to our Haymon?
I mean, if he's more interested in money, then almost certainly. But the Eddie Hearn model is just to build them big in Britain, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the minute, he's kind of hit his peak, hasn't he? And he's not going to get any bigger unless he fights at a higher level of opponent. You know, at the minute, he's making 200 grand a fight. He's no closer to Amir Khan. He's no closer to being a superstar. I mean, what is Eddie Hearn? Don't get me wrong, they've done a good job to get him into this position. But now he's in the position, what value are they adding?
Well, I think the only fight outside of Amir Khan that it would be big outside of Al Haymon would be the Rios Bradley winner. Realistic or not, that is the biggest non-Haymon fight at this point, I'd say. I wouldn't mind seeing him sign with Al Haymon just because of, then it opens up a Sean Porter rematch. It opens up a fight with Adrian Broner. He tries to come back up.
Let's talk about Al Haymon now we're on the subject. You know, Al Haymon's recently signed James DeGale. He's recently signed Lee Selby. There's talk of him signing Kell Brook. I think he should look at signing Jamie McDonnell. The way I view Al Haymon is Al Haymon's not beneficial to those who are going to be established pay-per-view stars in the UK. So an example would be Carl Frotz. You know, Carl Frotz would not benefit from signing with Al Haymon. What I think Al Haymon is excellent for is the kind of fighters like Lee Selby, who are high-level, world championship-level fighters, but who are not big earners and who are not pay-per-view stars in their own right. And I think that group of fighters, the Selbys, the McDonalds, you know, those are the guys who are really vulnerable. Copend has commented, by the way, and Gaz has commented. Hello, Gaz, how are you doing? Copend said Porter versus Brook was a golden boy show, but it had Haymon's involvement. So there we are. But anyway, now we're talking about it. So what do you think about Haymon's involvement? How relevant do you think it is? Who do you think will be next in line?
Well, I think to me talking about Al Haymon could be a whole new video, really, because I see there's so many pros and cons to it. If you mean specifically on the British scene or generally?
Yeah, British scene.
Okay. Who do I think
there's rumours about?
Sorry?
There's rumours that Eubank Jr. will sign with him.
Well, it'll be the last promoter left, really, won't it? But, I mean, I don't... Who do I think will be next? Well, I'm sure the rumour mill can go in for anyone. Really, I think Jamie McDonnell is almost a certainty, having fought and won against a Haymon man twice now. Especially now he's signed Scott Quigg as well. That's the obvious fight to make once they step up, if he steps up.
Who, Haymon signed Scott Quigg?
I've just sworn Haymon signed Scott Quigg.
Carl Frampton he signed.
Frampton. Sorry.
Yeah, I think McDonnell could step up. The thing is, I think McDonnell, and I don't want to be critical of him because he's coming off a big win, but I think McDonnell is a limited guy who's having success because he's a big guy in that division. If he steps up and he has to fight the likes of Carl Frampton, Quigg, Rigondo, Santa Cruz, I think he'll get found out. I think the water's deeper at that sort of level.
Yeah, agreed. But I'm just commenting generally, saying he seems to be the most obvious.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be overly surprised if we saw George Groves signing for him.
Yeah, you could see that. And
then opens up with the Gale fight.
I mean, Haymon's going to have to start putting on England fights, isn't he? I mean, he'd do it via Eddie Hearn, I guess, but yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I suppose he's going to have to. Well, I suppose the England and British fighters don't want to be fighting in English and British shows if they're signing with Al Haymon.
Well, I think you're probably right, but what about someone like George Groves, where the biggest fights out there for him are certainly in Britain?
Are they? Jay Lee and Love?
I mean, let's put it this way. If Groves fights James DeGale, that's a pay-per-view mega event. That's Wembley Stadium. That's probably going to do 600,000 or 700,000 pay-per-view buys at 20 quid a go. That's probably going to do 60 or 70,000 ticket sales at 50 quid a go at Wembley. If he fights Andre Ward or if he fights Arthur Abraham, they're not pay-per-view fights.
Yeah, but if you put that on the same card as a Deontay Wilder fight, then that is anywhere in Las Vegas. Or you could even start thinking about bigger places.
Yeah, that's not the same money though, is it?
No, it depends on the card, doesn't it?
Well, let's put it this way.
Put George Groves, James DeGale on the same card as Deontay Wilder, Alexander Povetkin. You sell out 90% of the arenas in America.
Yeah, but it's not pay-per-view.
So,
Haymon's moving on. Pay-per-view is where the money is.
do you think? What do you think? Yeah, but do you think George Groves and James DeGale are going to be more worried about fighting on pay-per-view at Stamford Bridge?
I think they're more worried about the money.
I don't know. I think those two want to fight each other. Will want to fight each other first and foremost.
Yeah, it's easy to have motivation, but when someone sticks £5 million under your nose, things go out the window.
Well, you're the one that says that Al Haymon's getting Keith Thurman $1 million every time fighting free.
That's the thing. And Haymon can get George Groves the $1 million paydays. He can. What he can't do is get the $5 million paydays. And that's what Eddie Hearn can do.
Just as long as the fight's not a bloody catchweight, I'll be happy.
This is what I'm saying. Eddie Hearn is the person to be with if you are a pay-per-view superstar. Al Haymon is the person to be with if you are just one rung below that. That's my viewpoint. Anyway, we've got a few people commenting. If you're watching the video, please do say hello. You've got a unique opportunity to ask a question of the self-proclaimed most knowledgeable man in boxing. I'm not letting him forget that. So, yeah, do comment. Justin's been on for about 20 minutes, Justin. Probably going to run for something similar. We've got a few more fights to cover. We'll post a video online on my channel afterwards. Gaz, what about Dillian Whyte moving to Al Haymon? Do you think that would be a good move for Dillian? Your thoughts?
Only post Joshua, which is going to be the fight that makes them. But either of them, isn't it? If Joshua loses, he's the next Audley Harrison. If Whyte loses, then it's just the guy who talks big.
Nick says hello. Hello, Nick. Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on that, Gaz, is Haymon doesn't really have any value to Dillian Whyte, because who are the big fights for Dillian Whyte? You know, it's the fights he's already in, isn't it? It's Anthony Joshua. Potentially, if he loses that, you've got more domestic level matchups like Gary Cornish or David Price. Yeah, if he wins it, those big money fights. If Dillian Whyte goes and knocks out Anthony Joshua, there's scope for Dillian Whyte to be fighting Tyson Fury and those sort of guys. So for me, there isn't really a value out for Dillian Whyte going to Haymon. Cophen says, there's no proof at this point that Al Haymon is interested in the UK versus UK fight and UK pay-per-view. He's not such as Frampton Quigg or Brook. I think that's true, Cophen. Yeah, it's a fair point. But if he keeps signing UK fighters, it's absolutely inevitable, because if you sign enough of them, the fights are going to make themselves. Justin, I hope you guys haven't yet done the Wlad Fury bit. Have you guys caught the Periscope video Fury's team have been putting up? Firstly, I haven't caught the Periscope video, Justin, so do leave us a comment, let me know. Secondly, we haven't done that. We're just going to do a bit of the Anthony Joshua Cornish, Dillian Whyte Minto thing first, and then we'll come on to Klitschko Fury to end. And Cophen saying, at this moment, we do know Haymon's moving away from the pay-per-view model. Yeah, that's correct. I agree with you. What I'm getting at, Cophen, is if you're George Groves, you can stay with, Sauerland or fight for Eddie Hearn and get that pay-per-view revenue, or you're probably not going to get that. What I'm getting at is Haymon is brilliant for the Selby's of this world or the McDonald's of this world. I don't see him being a huge value at this stage to the Carl Frotzes of this world or the George Groves of this world. I just don't see it myself. Just my opinion. Right, we've talked Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, Brian Minto. Give me your thoughts.
I think it's a more interesting fight.
I think it's a far less interesting fight.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I think Gwyn is a much. Gwyn's never been stopped.
Mm.
Minto got knocked out by a gust of wind the other day.
True, but it's not a fight to be interesting, though, is it? It's a fight so that someone can get sparked, and then they can play a nice little video clip before he goes into the ring against Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Brian Minto is a bit hard saying he's been knocked out by a gust of wind. Minto's relatively durable. He went 7 rounds with Joseph Parker, who's a really big puncher. But for me, Brian Minto, he's not going to give Dillian Whyte anything to worry about, especially as a short notice opponent. What I wanted to see was Gwyn take Dillian a few rounds, ask a few questions of him that way. And I don't see Brian Minto bringing that to the table, really.
No, but I don't think he was meant to.
Okay. Just looking into the chat, Nick says he missed the first part. What were your thoughts on Kamina McDonald? No worries if you've missed it. Yeah, we've discussed it in brief. We said fair play to McDonald. He did well. Obviously, controversial scoring. I was saying McDonald won. You know, but I think that the water's a lot deeper if he steps up in weight class, and he should probably stick where he is. Justin says there's been some fury inside of vids on the Periscope app. Yeah, I'll check that out, Justin. And Gaz says Hearn's been messing Dillian around big time over this fight. Yeah, I saw a few tweets from Dillian Whyte, and I think it's safe to say he's not too pleased with young Edward Hearn at the minute. He thinks it's all sorts of mind games, and you know, who knows what the truth is there. But obviously, we've got that fight coming up this week. Dillian Whyte versus Brian Minto. I think that's a 2-round job, in my opinion, especially with Minto getting older, being so short notice, and being a blown-up cruiserweight. Let's talk about the other fight on that card. And here's a question that I'm looking to ask you. We've got an opponent here who is undefeated as a professional. We've got an opponent here who is undefeated as an amateur. This guy has never lost. He's 6'9". He's 18 stone. Every time he's boxed, he has won. He's been doing well in sparring. He's been impressing people in the gym. By all accounts, he's been in with some decent names in the gym. Has he really got no chance against Anthony Joshua?
You're in the wrong sport if you're operating on no chance at all. Of course he's got a chance. But he is not meant to win this fight if your name is Edward Hearn. If this is going to be meant to be the Anthony Joshua show where he starts putting belts around his waist.
How do you see the fight going then?
I think Anthony will come out, do his very rigid high guard, try to walk Cornish down. The biggest question we really have is what happens after he gets out of round 3.
Yeah. Well, he won't be getting past round 3 with Cornish, will he?
Sorry?
He won't be getting past round 3 with Cornish, will he?
If he bombs Cornish out in less than 9 minutes, then I will become the conductor of his hype train.
Oh, no. Let me tell you this. He's going to knock Cornish out in the first round. Have you ever seen Cornish fight?
Only snatches here and there.
Cornish, in my opinion, very, very poor. Very poor. The answer to my earlier question, 6'9", undefeated, 18 stone, does he really have no chance? In my opinion, he does really have no chance. Cornish is very, very defensively limited. I've seen snatches of him. I remember watching one of his early fights, and I saw him get horribly dropped by a journeyman. And some of the whispers I've heard from people I know inside boxing is that this guy's really got a glass jaw. I see Joshua finishing Gary Cornish potentially inside the first minute. I view it as that bigger demolition job. I think Joshua's going to walk through Gary Cornish and knock him out. I think the other thing to factor in is Gary Cornish, going by his record. And I've heard, I was doing a chat with Dave Allen the other day, who's an undefeated heavyweight prospect, and he said Gary Cornish was a very, very big puncher. But if you look at his record, he doesn't appear to be the biggest puncher. He didn't even stop Larry Olabamio recently, who's been stopped by everyone. For me, Cornish has got no power to keep Joshua off. And when Joshua's inside, he doesn't have the chin to take any resistance. So I see it being a 1-round job. What about yourself?
Well, that's revealing. If nothing else, I didn't think Cornish was going to win. I feel I should state. I never felt that for a second. The Gary Cornish fight is just to put another title on him, so that after the Dillian Whyte fight, Anthony Joshua may have 2 titles, which will almost inevitably then lead to Erkan Tepe. But
I don't think they're going to take Tepper. Well, you know, Tepper's not a big fight, and it's a risky fight. I think that after Dillian Whyte, you go, you know, Dillian Whyte's going to be pay-per-view. I reckon after that, you go pay-per-view against David Price or pay-per-view against Derek Chisora.
you put him in with David Price, and it's just, and it would not be. Why would you put him in with David Price?
It's a very winnable fight against a very big name.
Unless they want him to do the thing where you win 3 times defending and you get to keep the Lonsdale belt. You'd put him in with Tepper, wouldn't you? You'd have to put him in with Tepper.
Tepper, that's not a big money fight, and it's a risky fight.
Yeah, but that's not going to be a. No, it's not a big money fight, and it is a risky fight. But that's what people want for an Anthony Joshua fight now, isn't it?
No. See, that's where you're wrong. No, because the Anthony Joshua fan is more than just a boxing fan. The Anthony Joshua fan is the casual fan.
I'm not talking about the Anthony Joshua fan.
Yeah, but the people who watch Anthony Joshua and will buy his pay-per-views are much more interested in seeing him fight Price and Chisora. Let me tell you this. The people who buy these pay-per-views would be more interested in seeing Anthony Joshua versus Danny Williams than Anthony Joshua versus Erkan Tepper, because they've heard of Danny Williams.
Maybe. I don't think Tepper will versus Anthony Joshua could headline an event. But I could certainly see it happening as a co-feature.
But yeah,
I mean,
I'll tell you what. Funnily enough, like now we're on the subject. I'll come back to it in just a moment because I want to go back to the comments. But yeah, I think Cornish is easy work. I'm afraid I see Cornish as like a Richard Towers or a Tom Dallas. I see him as that level of heavyweight. You know, big guy, rangy, but not much to him.
I remember you being really high on Richard Towers at one point.
Oh yeah, I saw a few things in Richard Towers that I liked, but yeah, I got that one horribly wrong. But yeah, we're going to move on now. We're going to talk Joshua Whyte, and we're going to talk Fury Klitschko. Before we get there, I'm just going to go through the chat. Ruben says that he's late, but he'll watch it back. Justin saying, Ruben, you're not the biggest Fury fan, and you'd be here sooner. If you don't know, Ruben, who's a regular viewer, is the biggest Tyson Fury fan in the world. And Fury said, never question his devotion to Fury. He's the biggest fan. He's just not the biggest Boxing Gossip fan because he's late, although he would be one of Boxing Gossip's bigger fans. Ruben, it's great to have you on board, as always. You may or may not be the biggest fan, but I certainly enjoy the back and forth we have, sir. Justin says, Cornish is young. He could have improved since his last footage, but he does look a level below AJ. Yeah, I think, as I say, Tom Dallas, that sort of type of fighter I view him as. Ruben says, I hope Cornish gets lucky and KOs him. Yeah, that would put a spanner in Eddie Hearn's works. The problem is that he just doesn't have the power to KO Joshua, does he? Like, that's the thing. Coppen says we may as well fast forward straight to September, but Tepper's a nice step. Don't get me wrong, Tepper would be a very nice step. I just don't see it happening. So let's do that. Let's fast forward to December. Let's say that Dillian Whyte sparks Minto in one round and Joshua sparks Cornish in one round. The more we get closer to this fight, the more I'm buying into Dillian Whyte. When this opened, I did a video with Ultratech. I said 80-20. I then rethought it and said 70-30. Now we're at a fight or getting closer. I'm 60-40 in Joshua's favour. I think Dillian Whyte has a very, very live chance in this fight. I'm really buying into the Dillian Whyte movement. Talk to me about your feelings.
I'm at 70-30, but I'm more than willing to move. I'm 70 in favour of Joshua, but I'm ready to move. I'm getting the feeling, and I don't know why. Maybe watching the odd bit of footage here and there, and reading the odd report here and there. But I'm ready to move on that one. I'm ready for that fight. I'm ready to watch that. I'm ready to be completely wrong and be happy about being wrong. The same as I am for Tyson Fury Wlad, which we'll probably come to in a bit.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next. How do you see this fight going then, Dillian Whyte versus Joshua? What are the questions in your mind at this stage?
Can the fight get beyond the third round? Probably. Hope so. What is Joshua going to do if someone is not willing to just stand there and get hit with a 1-2 perpetually? Is Dillian Whyte just going to try and bomb him out like a better version of Chisora, or is it going to be an actual, real impressive display of boxing skills? And then the immediate question of what happens afterwards. But then we'll find out what happens afterwards.
For me, there's quite a few questions. Like, one of them is the Joshua chin versus Whyte's power.
Yeah.
You know, how do you do that?
Well, I've seen the amateur fight, and obviously, you know, I've seen AJ up till now, and I've seen bits and pieces of Dillian, but it's just, it's there. Excuse me. I think we'll just have to see. Really, I know I'm supposed to make a concrete selection, but it's difficult to call about someone's chin until you've actually seen them be hit.
Yeah, I think that's a big question. I think the other thing is the stamina question. You know, neither of these guys have gone beyond 4 rounds. That's a big factor as well.
AJ seems to be getting steadily bigger in his fights as well. An enormous amount of muscle mass.
Yeah, yeah. So I think stamina is a big one. I think power versus chin. I also, and I've said this so many times, but people disagree with me on this, but I do see Joshua as extremely reliant on range. And I think the fight that Dillian Whyte should be watching ahead of this is Kepa versus Price. You know, can Dillian Whyte be Erkan Kepa against David Price? Can he make it uncomfortable? Can he close the distance? Can he get inside the range? You know, I'm not saying they're identical fighters. I'm not saying Joshua's the same as Price, but there are similarities there. Big, tall, powerful, robotic guys, reliant on the 1-2. You know, for me, if Dillian Whyte can close down the range, he's done half his work. What do you reckon?
Agreed, but sitting on someone's chest and throwing bombs is a very, very hard way of fighting. And this is where the gas tank question will come back in as well. But if he can do that, then that's his key to victory or way to win, isn't it? Because if he just sits at the end of his jab, or AJ's jab, then it's 36 minutes of getting punched in the face.
Yeah, well, if it lasts that long. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of moving over. I could see myself being on Team Whyte by the time this fight starts.
I think after the Scotland card, I don't know. I don't know. I'm Team Joshua at the moment for that fight, but I'm more than happy to move.
Absolutely. Justin says we haven't had a chance to see AJ's inside game yet. Whyte is a huge step up from everything we've seen so far. Yeah, I agree, and you're right. And it's more just the inside game. We've not seen Joshua's chin tested. We've not seen him gone beyond a couple of rounds. We've not seen his inside game. We've not seen his back foot game. We've not even really seen it when the opponent starts throwing leather. You know, in the amateurs, to me, he looked very uncomfortable when there was volume coming back his way. You know, there's all these intangibles. Don't get me wrong, to an extent, there's the same intangibles as with Dillian Whyte. You know, Dillian Whyte's also unproven to an extent, but for Joshua to be such a heavy favourite, it's early days, you know, too early days. Right, so looking into the chat, Ruben says that I'm actually his favourite boxing YouTuber. No, that's very, very nice of you, Ruben. If there's anyone else who wants to lavish any praise on me in the chats, yeah, please feel free.
Thank you, Ruben. It means a lot to me.
Gaz says the Whyte Joshua is good timing. Just in time for AJ's get a Christmas panto gig after he gets chinned by Dillian Whyte. I love it, Gaz.
Leave Frank Bruno out of this.
We've got Oliver in the chat. Oliver is a massive fan of Pie and Booth. He's written, I think, 4 comments about the future of Pie and Booth. I must admit, Oliver, I'm not aware of the recent waves that Ty and Booth has been making, but yeah, maybe I have to go back and rewatch the Cushy Bank Jr. fight. Coppen says this fight is 2 to 3 fights too early for Dillian. Yeah, that's a sound analysis. Don't disagree with you at all there. Coppen, Justin says, oh yeah, we've covered Justin. Justin's Team Whyte, though, he's going to have a bet on it. He thinks Joshua will be fine on the back foot because his jab is good. Coppen's got a good question. where does the AJ versus Dillian Whyte loser go?
I don't know about it. I think it would be really horrific for AJ because everyone's going to start saying draw the Audley Harrison comparison. But if it's Dillian that loses or KO'd, then I'm afraid for me, unless they try and build him up again, then it's into obscurity, really.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if Dillian loses, there's still fights out there for him because he's going to get a big build-up here and his name's going to be a viable name. So I do think there's domestic matchups with the Prices and Chisoras of this world. If Joshua loses, I reckon they'll be able to build him back up again because I think he'll delay for a year or two and just go down the journeyman route again because there's so much money behind him that they'll be inclined to put the effort in. Nick says that I'm his second favourite YouTuber. Nick, go on then. You built it up. Who's the first? Justin says Dwyer is God. Yeah, Dwyer's my favourite YouTuber, I must say. He's certainly better than I am. Oliver's got a good question, which I won't read out in case I get sued. Thanks for trying to get me into trouble, Oliver, although it did make me chuckle, so fair play to you, sir. Right, the main event. We've been rambling on for long enough. Let's move on to it. Tyson Fury. What round does he knock Klitschko out?
You have had a colossal effect on me, dear brother. Where before I was certain of Vladimir knocking Tyson out, and now I'm sort of can't make a decision, sort of rock back and forward, holding a pillow when I try and think of it.
So the Boxing Gossip channel has influenced your decision-making process.
Your perpetual talking of how Tyson Fury is the greatest mover since Muhammad Ali, and me reading Tyson Fury's shameless self-promotion via things like Sky Sports and Twitter, I have not been able to not buy into the hype. It's quite annoying.
What's your prediction for the fight?
I don't know anymore. I'm going to go for a decision, and I will decide who is going to win that decision in round 11.
You think it's going to be a knockout in round 11?
I said decision, and then I'll work out who I think is going to win that decision after round 11.
It's a decision, okay.
I don't think Tyson's going to knock him out.
You don't think Tyson will knock him out?
No.
No, for what it's worth, I don't think Tyson will knock him out either. I think Klitschko's chin is underrated, actually. And I think Fury isn't the biggest puncher out there. I could see Tyson Fury, and I may look like an idiot here, but let's be honest, it's happened before. I could see Tyson Fury winning a wide points decision.
If he can move enough, all this Tyson too fast Fury stuff. If he can do it, if he can move, if he switch hits, if he can hit and not get hit, then maybe I'd like him to. I'd really like him. Not that I don't like Vladimir. I'm a huge Vladimir Klitschko fan, enormous. But
I mean, at some stage at this point, Fury is going to get hit. He is.
Yeah.
He's going in with an all-time great heavyweight. Tyson Fury is going to get hit. And there is still a slight question on his chin. My personal opinion is the fact that he's been dropped in fights and gotten up to win is actually something that should be viewed as a positive, not a negative. I actually think that's an indication of a good chin, not a bad chin. And we know reliably that when Tyson gets hurt, he will be able to fight on. But there is a slight question there, and we must not rule out that if Vladimir hits Klitschko really lands on Fury, it could be a knockout. But I just think Tyson Fury's got so much more to his game than Vladimir. Let's ask it this way, and this is going to get a bit repetitive, but bear with me here. Who's got a better punch variety?
Oh, you're actually asking? Tyson.
Who's got a better movement?
Yeah, probably Tyson.
Who's got a better inside game?
Tyson.
Who's bigger?
I think Tyson. Yeah, Tyson's bigger, isn't
Who can punch to the body better?
he?
Let
I
me
don't
give you
know.
a hint. Klitschko
I've
hasn't thrown a body punch since the 1990s.
No comment.
Tyson Fury is an elite level body puncher. You know, Tyson Fury, I must say, in my mind, is you know, for his size, one of the best movers out there. Well, no, actually, let me rephrase that. For his size, he is the best mover out there. You look at heavyweights of comparable size, Ustinov, Valuev, even that Tyson Dong bloke. You know, the way Tyson Fury moves is like he's such a good mover. You know, we know. For me, there's so many ways Fury can beat Klitschko. You know, Klitschko doesn't like southpaws. He doesn't like fighting on the inside. He doesn't like being hit to the body. And he's not going to be able to lean on Fury and to clinch Fury like he's been able to do with these small heavyweights like Povetkin. Give me your thoughts on that part of the dynamic.
Well, I agree. I mean, obviously, for things like height and weight, he isn't going to be able to do the sort of jab and grab, or at least not do it as effectively as he did with a Povetkin or a David Hay. The main question I have over Tyson Fury now is, or two main questions. A, what will happen when he gets punched? And B, just what shape is he going to be hit?
Well, to me, Fury, I don't know if you saw the Fury interview this weekend, but he looked to be in really, really good shape. And you've got to remember...
I saw the photo you retweeted of him in his suit, where he looked trim.
Yeah, he looks
trim, but not have gas.
Yeah, yeah, and we're still 7 weeks out from fight night. Yeah, I agree here. The big intangible is the Fury, can he live up to Vladimir's power? And look, clearly, it's a big step up for Fury. Clearly, you know, Fury's stepping up from Derek Chisora level to all-time great level here. So it is a big step up. He's in against an all-time great puncher with an all-time great resume. And there is a chance that he won't cope with the step up. But my prediction is to side with Fury here. Fury's got more to him than Vladimir Klitschko. And what I think is so relevant here is Fury is coming into this fight with an A game, a B game, a C game, and a D game. Whereas, to my mind, Vladimir Klitschko has got game A, and that's it. And if Fury can take away Vladimir's game A, if he can take away the jab and grab by being too big, too strong, too good at monitoring the distance, and if his southpaw stance can put him off, or if his inside game can put him off, or if his reach can put him off, if any of those things can put Vladimir off, then I think Fury can win this fight.
I think Fury can mix it up a lot better. I think Fury's size will help. The jab right hand of Vladimir has worked fundamentally, and pretty much has always worked, bar 3 occasions. So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that fight. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to that, I must say, yeah. Let's go to the chat. Ruben says, Dwyer's his second favourite YouTuber. Yeah, Dwyer's my favourite, I must say. Nick says that he doesn't have favourites, but he likes Wingy. Yeah, Wingy's excellent. I watch a lot of the channels. I'll tell you who I watch. I watch Dwyer, I watch Wingy, I watch every single video Ultra Tech Sports does, and not just because I'm his mate, but because he genuinely is top class. Bay Lorick with Ingram, I watch Bay Lorick. The Boxing Voice, I'm a big fan of. I watch the odd bit of Boxing Ego, big fan of Boxing Ego. What about yourself? Do you watch any of these YouTube channels?
I don't really. I don't know. I tend to do more sort of boxing scene, boxing news 24, rather than watching. I tend to read more about it. Sky Sports News, of course.
Justin says, can Fury compete with Wlad in terms of jabbing? Part of me thinks yes. Part says Wlad has a power punch jab. Yeah, I think my view on that, Justin, is Wlad's got a harder jab. Fury's got a more versatile jab. You know, Fury's got a jab to the head, jab to the body. Fury's got a bit of double jab. Fury's jab can be outside of Vladimir's jab in the fact that he's got better reach and better range. So, yeah, I mean, Vladimir Klitschko's probably got the better jab. I'd say Fury's got the more versatile jab, which may prove more useful in this kind of matchup. Ruben says it ain't going 11 rounds. Ruben's going for the Fury KO. Ruben says Fury's going to rip his heart out and eat it. That'll be pay-per-view, won't it? Justin says, I think Fury will box and move. Yeah, I completely agree, Justin. You know, it's going to be a technical chess game, isn't it? It's not going to be a scrap. Ruben says, Wlad got wobbled by Pulev's jab. You know, that's fair enough. That's a fair comment. Justin says, Wlad can move. I'm guessing Mr. Egg God says it's about Fury's recovery's time after he gets stung by Wlad. Copend, what are your thoughts on Fury's comment? He has a maximum of 4 fights left and he doesn't like boxing. The comments are on Boxing News Online. Copend, I don't buy into that one bit. You know, first and foremost, Fury's an entertainer. You know, some of the comments he's come out with, you know, we'll leave it to see. But let's be honest, if he beats Wlad, the amount of money going to be out there in a Wlad rematch, a wildly unique.
Doesn't he?
Pardon?
He said he has a rematch clause. He has to fight Wlad.
He's got a rematch clause. He'll probably offer 20 mil to fight Povetkin and Russell, Wilder, Joshua at Wembley. You know, the money's so there. Gaz, Fury versus Wlad, chin for chin. Wlad got dropped, he stayed down. Fury got up, Fury won. Fair comment. Mr. Eggod, yeah, but Tyson Fury got put down by a cruiserweight. Want Fury to win, but Wlad is a mountain to climb. Justin says if you watch some of the Periscope vids, you can see how fit Fury is at the minute. Fury's obviously in pretty good shape. There's a lot of chat about Steve Cunningham dropping in, whereas Gas is saying, but the people who dropped Wlad are middle of the road heavyweights. Justin says he's a big fan of Box Talk and Hatman. Yeah, I've recently come on to Hatman actually. He's someone I've only got into relatively recently, but he's good. Box Talk, I've heard a lot about him. I know Ultratech is a big fan of Box Talk. I haven't really watched them as much as I should, but I must check them out. A lot of people saying Box Talk, so I have to check out Box Talk more. Justin says, yeah, there is a rematch clause. James says, one advantage I think Fury has is he won't tolerate Klitschko's grabbing. Tyson will put a stop to it in a way that a lot of Klitschko's opponents physically aren't capable of. That's a very good point, James. That's a very, very good point. Klitschko, he's so reliant on that. If that gets taken away from him, and if he has to fight on the inside, could be game over. So, fair point, sir. Right, we've been talking for good old time now. I'm done. I've got a sore throat. I need to go and make myself a dinner. Have you got any final comments?
No, I need dinner as well, so I'm done.
Perfect. Thanks everyone for watching. Been a real pleasure talking to everyone. Hope you all have a good evening. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. And yeah, we'll catch you all soon.
See you soon.